This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Monday Night Raw review here on this Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2024. We're still here. It's still Christmas. Well, a day from it, and I hope everybody has a great Christmas. Not too stressful for you. We're here. For those of you that are parents, we made it. Instead of it being a holiday, it's more like a finish line, which, for better or worse, it's kind of how a lot of us view it, unfortunately. The magic of Christmas is a distant memory if you are a parent, unless you view it through the eyes of your children. Then, of course, you can maybe recapture some of that, and 'tis the circle of life. So hope all of you enjoy your Christmas, safe, happy, healthy, and we'll be rolling into a new wrestling season in just about a week. Yes, we do have a Monday Night Raw, actually from... where is it? The Houston Toyota Center. This coming Monday. I figured it was going to be your typical yearly wrap review show, and it's not. It is a live Monday Night Raw. Starts regular time at the Houston Toyota Center this Monday, December 30th. So if you're in the area, of course, I know listeners that we have on the show here do live near or around the Houston area. There you go. If you want to get some fun in after the holidays here and right before New Year's, go catch Raw. But I will say, do so with caution, because you're going to see basically a preview of just the big show next week. I feel bad for you, Houston, because you're the show that is nothing more than the stepping stone to get to the real show, which is, of course, is the debut of Raw on Netflix on January 6th that they are promoting the hell out of, and with good reason. So I just want to warn you, if you're deciding to go to Houston, you'll still get, I think, a decent show, some good wrestling, but it's a dress rehearsal in comparison to the next week, which, it's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles, the way that the wrestling gods have anointed it. It's, if you're in the Houston area, my apologies. You're gonna get a good show, but it's all about a preview for next week. So we do have a Monday Night Raw coming up. I was wrong about the preview show or the review show for the year, but here we are, and we're going to talk this week's Monday Night Raw that aired on the 23rd last night. One that was not exactly the most exciting Raw in the history of Raws, one that'll be forgotten very quickly. It wasn't a bad show, just kind of boring in terms of what took place and progression of things. Not to say nothing happened that's not worth talking about. I mean, I do this show. I have to come up with something to talk about here, but it's not exactly the hottest show of the year, and that's to be expected. Plus, they double taped in the same city, which means the crowd is dead. You do two shows in the same city, man, you're going to have a dead crowd for the second half, and that's kind of what we got. A lot of non-reaction from the crowd, but it's difficult to keep that energy up. So I don't fault the crowd for it. I think that it's something that is to be expected. Going to a double taping of Raw so that the talent can have this week to spend with their families. I fully support that decision, by the way. One that I know Vince didn't do a lot of the times, and very much was go, 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 go. And you're in this business. You know what's expected of you. It's the nature of the beast, but this is a new era, a new time, and talent spending time with their families seems to be at least more of a priority, and I totally support all of that. And one of the highlights, though, we'll get into it in a minute, though, is Drew McIntyre, as he seems to be every single week, every single show, as he kind of slithers between SmackDown and Raw. But we'll get to that in a second. I want to welcome you all to Patreon, those of you who have joined us over the last week or two. I know that I haven't given you your shout out yet, but what the heck? What better time to give you your shout outs, guys, than right now? So Zachariah and let's see, Zachariah M. I want to make sure I get the last name or the last initial right. Dontry Hardy, thank you for joining us. I saw Logan upgraded his membership. Thank you so much. Darlene Brown joined us. EJ joined us. So thank you so much, guys. Dave, also a week ago, joined us. On the free side of things, Adam Daniels. Hope you guys decide to stick with us and make us a regular part of your weekly wrestling rotation. And a lot of other podcasts out there definitely have bigger platforms, but we're trying. We're this little old podcast that won't quit, and I don't think that quitting is what we're ever going to do. So we're actually expanding into YouTube, and forgive me for my amateurism, probably a better word, but that's the one that came into my mind. For my lack of video editing ability, I'm still getting my feet wet in there and trying to figure out the best format and method for my YouTube. By the way, you can check it out. It's the WWE podcast on YouTube, as you'd expect. There's a ton of content there, but it's 98% audio. I've been dipping my toe into a little bit of video, so check it out over on YouTube. Give us a subscribe. All right, let's dive into Monday Night Raw and talk about Drew McIntyre. My God, is this dude the saving grace of this show? Again, not to say the rest of the show was bad, but here we go. So we had Drew McIntyre shown backstage, and we had footage air last week from Sami Zayn cutting off McIntyre, and McIntyre started to say he's never been so beat up coming out of the Hell in a Cell match. He said he went home to Scotland because a close family member passed away, and said that some of the people in the locker room were probably saying they didn't know. McIntyre told them that if they cared enough, they would have asked. And he said the only person that reached out to him, was only one person that reached out to him after Hell in a Cell. He said he was led to believe that they are one big happy family in the back, but it's all BS. McIntyre said his brother wouldn't stab him in the back to take his spot, but people like the Usos and Sami Zayn would. McIntyre said the fans turned on him for someone who told them to go screw themselves, and McIntyre said he will give no more for anyone, and he'll continue to tell the truth. And he said the real villains in WWE are Roman Reigns and CM Punk, and said that it's pathetic that people like the Usos and Sami Zayn went back to Roman's side when he snapped his fingers. So, strong stuff here. Not a lot of lies detected. It's such an interesting character that he's put together. It's this dark, depressed, but quietly angry character that is telling about 90% truth, but putting a 10% spin on it, that with that injection of the 10%, it's an inconvenient truth, but one that you could look at from both sides. It's not an objective reality of what he's saying. In other words, he's not telling us the sky is blue and we're like, well, I don't know about that. Right? He's not telling us gravity doesn't exist. Of course it does. Right? He's not telling us things like that. He's giving us scenarios where, even though we can absolutely see his point of view, the other side of the coin still exists, so as to such we don't turn on our baby faces. It's a very fun character that I'm so glad we're getting to see. And we don't need to see his sword come out every week. Remember the baby face of Drew? I mean, again, I don't think there's been a bad version of Drew. That was my least favorite, personally, was him coming out and bringing the sword that his mother, gave him or something, knowing that he will never, ever, ever, ever use that sword because it'll never happen, because it's an effing sword. So that was good. And so this character is great. Now Sami comes out, and he said to McIntyre that he's also endured his share of losses, his share of funerals missed, his share of birthdays and weddings and graduations and all the rest. And he said it's the life they chose, and they're lucky to be WWE superstars. That's the part. Hey, Sami, the corporate ass kissing can wait. Okay. I didn't like that line. Oh, we're so lucky to be here. No. Please. No. That is bending over for the man. Now, obviously, you do what you're told. We know that. But we don't want you to say how lucky you are to be here. You should be saying how lucky the WWE is to have you. Even as a babyface, there's ways you can put that. That doesn't kiss the corporate ass. Okay, I hate that line. Everyone just bows at the altar of the corporate suits. Not a fan. But continuing. Sami said all the fans have similar stories of losses and sacrifices. And Sami said that they get up every day and soldier on without pointing fingers. But do they? Does everyone do that, Sami? So he then told McIntyre that the fans made him. And that McIntyre thinks the world revolves around him because someone once told him that he was the chosen one and said that what he and the Usos do have nothing to do with him. And he had no problem facing McIntyre on the spot. And so McIntyre pointed out that Sami Zayn's never beat him, which is true and continues to be true. And that's when a brawl broke out. And we had Jey Uso come out to make the save, clearing McIntyre from the ring. And still, a fun promo. A fun promo that was one of the highlights of an otherwise somewhat uneventful Raw. I enjoyed it. All right. So continuing, we then have Io Sky come out for her Women's IC Championship Tournament match. And let's see here. We then have, obviously, Io Sky, Natalya. Yes, Natalya still works for the company. She's still there. She decided to, or WWE decided to relieve her of her duties of, I don't know, posting whatever picture that enhances her breasts on Instagram, whatever the latest picture of that is, or wearing, cat ears, or telling us how much she loved cats. So they decided, hey, Natalya, you can take a break from that. We actually need you on Raw. And she's like, Raw. Oh, Monday Night Raw, right. Hey, Natalya, I have nothing against her at all. She is, at this point, I don't even know if she's considered a gatekeeper anymore. She's been here so long, but what has she really done? I mean, seriously, and this is not a personal attack. This is seriously looking at Natalya from a professional standpoint. I know all of us, including myself, had said at times that she's the gatekeeper. Natalya is the gatekeeper. But why? Why is she the gatekeeper? Because her last name, or her uncle is one of the greatest of all time. Like, is she simply the gatekeeper because of her family legacy? By association, she's a gatekeeper, or is it because she's just been there a long time? Both of those still don't give me a lot of reason to feel that she's the gatekeeper to the women's division. I think I'm ready to strip her of that title. Because to me, gatekeeping is longevity combined with a high level of success. You don't get to sit here and say you've been here a while you're most of the time irrelevant or not on TV. Sorry. You may be working with the girls in the back and we don't see that stuff. But from my perspective, where we only see what's on camera, that's all I can go by. I'm stripping Natalya of that title that we have all just decided to anoint her. Now, she was in this match to take the pinfall, to protect, Alba Fire. But, hey, she is back. She can be pulled out of the crypt every once in a while. So anyway, the match lasted 8 minutes with Io Sky beating Natalya and Alba Fire after Sky hit an over-the-moonsault on Natalya. So Io Sky advances in the women's IC title tournament. So the updated brackets, by the way, show Dakota Kai versus Zoe Stark and Lyra Valkyria versus Io Sky in the semi-final matches. So we've got our final four. Who does it come down to? Good question. It's either Lyra and Dakota, Lyra and Zoe, Io and Dakota, or Io and Zoe. Let me know what you guys think. Okay. Chad Gable with Julius and Brutus Creed and Ivy Nile versus Akira Tozawa. So initially this match is kind of a snooze fest on paper. But I've been very steadfast that they have missed the boat, or at least in part missed the boat, by not having a proper Otis Chad Gable program. So this match at least gave me hope that they might decide to finish it. And we got a little tease of that. So this match was quick. 2 minutes, Chad beats Akira, multiple German suplexes, ankle lock, powerbomb, gets the submission. After the match, he didn't let go of the ankle. Otis comes in the ring, tosses Gable. The Creeds then join him, who told Otis they are going to end him. And so that sounds like it's a threat that will lead to finally a match with Otis and with Chad, but is it too little too late? Why wouldn't they have struck when the iron was hot with that? You had Otis at the top of his game. You had Otis with the most crowd support he's ever had in his career. You had Gable, a legitimate awesome heel on Raw at the time, berating his team, subjugating them to humiliation on television, spankings, running them down emotionally, physically, mentally. They were being beaten down. Otis stands up. He gives him a shove, and I'm like, here we go. And they just poured cold water on him. We didn't see it again. So is it too little too late? I mean, it's not nearly as hot of a program, but it's, if they get to it, I'll at least be satisfied. Okay. We then have Damian Priest versus Dominic Mysterio. Another very quick match here, under 3 minutes, with Damian Priest beating Dominic Mysterio. But here's the finish. Priest smiled. He saw a man dressed as Santa Claus in the front row. He pulled Santa over the barricade, roughed him up. It was J.D. McDonough. Priest found Carlito hiding under the ring, and then Balor attacked Priest for the DQ. After the match, all 4 guys beat over on Priest until the War Raiders, Eric and Ivar, ran out, made the save. Priest put Balor down with a kick, and then Priest turned McDonough inside out with a clothesline. Eric and Ivar hit War Machine on Dom, and then Priest put Balor down with the South of Heaven chokeslam. So the fact that we had 3 of the members of Judgment Day, four of the members of the Judgment Day get destroyed, including getting the one big move you wanted to finally get hit on Finn Balor, which is getting Priest to hit Balor with his finish. That kind of leads you to believe that perhaps the Judgment Day are being ripped apart in this transfer window, i.e. a mini draft, or they just wanted the babyfaces to have a good night, and the heels will get their heat back next week. But either way, it made Priest look smart, not being set up by a group that he spent, how many months or years with. Under the ring, they're in the crowd, he knows the deal, and he ultimately gets his hands on the guy he's been trying to get his hands on, hitting him with a South of Heaven chokeslam. Okay, continuing here, we have a sit-down interview with Seth Rollins. This was being listed as recorded over the weekend, and Redman asked Rollins what his source of the disdain for CM Punk was. Rollins said he's tried to explain it many times, but he feels like he's talking into the wind. Rollins said Punk needed WWE. WWE did not need Punk. And the level of hypocrisy eats at him. He said his match with Punk will be a fight, and it's the biggest fight in the industry, and he needs it now. He said he wanted to throw his remote control through his television when he saw Roman put his finger in the air while Punk did the GTS signal. And Rollins said the match will be raw, visceral, and violent. Rollins said he needed to cut the cancer out of his brain. And that was kind of the finish. He needs to exorcise the demon, so to speak. So this interview is fine. it didn't do a lot to move this forward. Again, it's a Raw that is expected to be, especially this close to Christmas, kind of a hold me over Raw. But it did add a little bit of something to this match with him and Punk. That, by the way, is going to be the main event of Raw. That's been confirmed. So my predictions about The Rock potentially coming back on Raw, as big as that show is, seems to be a little bit watered down, because if you're going to have The Rock come back during the tribal warfare match with Solo and Roman, that's got to be at the end of Raw. And if Punk and Rollins are main eventing Raw, then there goes that, right? So anyway, back on track here. What this did add, what this sit-down interview did add to this program, to this match, it added a visual for the fans. This is not going to be suplexes, arm drags, headlocks. This is going to be punches, kicks, stiff. So that's what this added, was the expectations of what this match is going to be. It's not going to be a wrestling classic. It's just going to be violence. And that's a nice change of pace to what to expect from a match, that we all kind of know what the flow of a typical WWE match is, for better or worse. But to set the standard that it's going to be violent, not a lot of fancy things going on here, just beating the holy hell out of each other and straight punches and kicks. Cool. Great. I have no problem with that. I don't need every single WWE match to be a flip, flop, and fly gymnastics special. I don't need that. In fact, I don't want that. So we'll see if what he says actually is manifested in the match, if they can execute it, or if this is just a promo to get people to tune into the match. I don't know. But, okay. And one other thing that I wanted to talk about here is a larger item of WWE, and maybe even beyond the company's purview. Have they forgotten how to sell PLEs? Or does that not even matter anymore? Because the pay-per-view model of business has really gone by the wayside. Yes, I guess you can still order from your cable company, but nobody does that for all intents and purposes. It's streaming. So what is special about PLEs now when they give away 3 main events on Raw? Now, yes, it's the Raw debut on Netflix, massive moment. And it's true. So this is maybe one that can slide, maybe, but these are 3 massive main events, including one that was slated to be a semi-main event for WrestleMania 40 until Punk got hurt last year. So that's a big one to give away for free. For free. And so when you have the fans, not just for this special edition of Raw, but for on a weekly basis, you have them and give them title matches all the time, then what do they need to tune into the PLE for to see? What are they not seeing on free television that they can see on a PLE? What are you giving them on a PLE that you're not giving them on a regular Raw? You give them title matches up the ass all the time. So I just, you know what I mean? I think that they've gotten away from making fans feel the pressure or the temptation to stream and buy the streaming service, Peacock as it stands right now, and then yes, Netflix for Raw if you don't already have it. But they already see. Here's the thing: WWE knows that most people on this earth, at least in the United States, have Netflix. So they don't really have to invest anything else to see Raw that they can already see because they're already subscribed to Netflix. But most people, well, I shouldn't say most. I bet you a large majority of people that are already subscribed to Netflix are subscribed to Peacock. But that still can translate into dollars. While they're not directly buying the WWE network, that went away. The pay-per-view model's gone away. They still generate ad revenue based on the number of views they're getting on their content. So in effect, you are still affecting their bottom line by getting the fans to tune into a PLE. So maybe because they feel the business models change, that they don't feel the pressure as much anymore to build that anticipation for a PLE, for fans to actually go and spend the money to get a streaming service or to go watch the PLE? I have to guess that's the reason. All right, but back to Monday Night Raw. Dexter Lumis versus The Miz. Miz comes out and showed fear as the match started. Lumis took the fight to ringside, ran him into the barricade, and then Miz begged off and then went for a cheap kick that Lumis blocked. Miz connected with a kick, but Lumis came right back, and he put Miz down with a Uranagi slam. That's when AOP, Akam and Rezar, showed up. And Lumis spotted AOP, dove onto them. Karrion Kross then showed up and hit Lumis for the DQ. So Dexter Lumis wins by DQ in 2.5 minutes. After the match, though, we had Kross, Miz, AOP, and Scarlett surround Lumis in the ring. He held his arms out in a Bray Wyatt-esque pose. And the lights went out. Eric Rowan, Joe Gacy, and Nikki Cross were in the ring when the lights turned on, and they cleared the heels from the ring, and Rowan tossed Cross onto the heels, which is hilarious that Nikki Cross is $110 at best, took down the entire group of the Final Testament. I mean, you're talking about like 1,000 pounds in total of humanity, of men that she was able to somehow flatten. That's preposterous. No, that was a comedic mistake. You cannot tell me I'm supposed to believe that. That was ridiculous. I don't like those spots anyway that everyone groups together so that we can see one person take a bump, which just everyone is required to fall to the floor even if they weren't hit. We've seen that spot how many times? It's sometimes embarrassing. But Nikki Cross, who's one of the smallest women on the roster, and we're supposed to believe she took down the entire group? No, I don't care if she was shot from the moon. It would have not taken out the entire group of men here. That was ridiculous. It's embarrassing. Sorry, it's embarrassing. But what's not embarrassing? The Wyatt Sicks. They're a group that needs direction and needs it quickly. It feels like they had this very loose plan for them that they've already played out, and now they don't know what the hell to do with them. Same with the Final Testament, which is why these two groups are, trading losses, and one gets the upper hand, then the other one does, and it feels like no one's really being raised in this. Although I will say, from an AOP and from a Karrion Kross perspective, his whole group, they have gotten more attention than they ever have as a team. That's a plus. I guess if you're looking for a silver lining, but for the Wyatt Sicks, boy, they just seem directionless, and that crowd was dead for Dexter Lumis. I mean, morgue quiet. But again, this was taped on December 16th, so. Backstage, Damian Priest told the War Raiders he appreciated their help. Ivar said they haven't always seen eye to eye, but there's always been honor amongst them. Eric said Priest had their backs last week, and they owed him one this week. Priest said they're at war with Judgment Day, and he'd go to war with them. Fine, whatever. Woods also asked, so we had the broadcast team at ringside about speaking about Kofi and Xavier turning on Big E. We then had Kofi and Xavier show up at ringside, confront the broadcast team. Woods asked what happened to an unbiased journalism. Kingston said their job isn't to have an opinion, it's to tell the truth. Woods said Barrett and Big E aren't man enough to lace up their boots again. Kingston and Woods entered the ring. The crowd booed them pretty loudly. Kingston said it was supposed to be a homecoming for him, and he pointed out that his mom flew all the way from Ghana and was seated in the front row. He blamed the fans for ruining her experience, and Woods said they gave the fans the, quote, 10 best years of our lives. Kingston and Woods went to ringside. Kingston apologized to his mom and said She didn't deserve it and said he didn't understand why the fans were doing this. He asked his mom for a hug, but his mom stood him up and asked what was wrong with him. And his mom grabbed her coat, her belongings, and left the ringside area, leaving Kofi high and dry. Overall, I enjoyed this segment. It did also point more evidence towards the direction of Big E returning to the rings, even threatening even Wade Barrett, saying they didn't have they're not man enough to lace up their boots again. Well, that kind of solidifies that Big E is getting back in the ring. I think that would be a very big disappointment if that doesn't happen. So we then have Mysterio backstage, of course, the moral beacon that never does anything wrong. I mean, I don't even know if Rey Mysterio even ever has cussed. I'm sure he said ass. That might be it. It might be like the extent of his cussing in his life. I think that's it. He's just such a soft little gooey character. I respect the hell out of Rey Mysterio, but he's just not my cup of tea when it comes to baby faces. He's too soft. There's no edge to him. But hell of a legend. Absolute Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. He's just not my favorite character, that's all. So, Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn was the main event of the show. It lasted 15 minutes and 45 seconds. And we had the finish be, of course, Drew McIntyre winning, but Zayn catching McIntyre for an inside cradle. McIntyre then hit Zayn with a glass cow kiss, and McIntyre was counted down, then charged at Zayn, who clotheslined him. Sami hit an exploder suplex, set up the haluva kick, but he had some back pain, fired himself up, went for the move, but McIntyre caught him with a claymore and got the victory. Apparently, Drew McIntyre is 10-0 against Sami Zayn in his career, a stat that I don't think many of us really even thought about. I love this. I know that Tessitore is not Cole, but maybe he's taking some lessons from, the wily old veteran over there, Michael Cole, because when they bring out these stats, it's things that fans they don't pay attention to or think about, because WWE is, when it comes to wins and losses, first of all, they're not stat driven on wins and losses, because as we know in pro wrestling, generally wins and losses from a record standpoint don't mean much. It's who are you beating, how did you beat them, and what are you fighting for? It's not just a random matchup in which you just got to rack up wins and the team or the individual with the most wins at the end of the year is the division winner, and then that person is automatically into the playoffs, as we see in Major League Sports in the United States. So that's what, obviously we all know, is pro wrestling is more than that. It's not just about the numbers, but when they bring up those things and they strategically place those stats into matches, it can add a lot of meaning that otherwise is a cold match. Now, Sami and Drew aren't a cold match, but I think that those things do add to a match that otherwise maybe you're lukewarm on. It's like, oh, cool. I didn't know that, right? Oh, wow. He's never beaten, Sami's never beaten Drew. Wow. So that's stuff I really enjoy. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but this match was nearly 16 minutes. Drew wins. Now the finish, or the end of this match after the pinfall, was a McIntyre mounting Zayn, throwing punches at him. Jey Uso comes out, spears McIntyre. Uso went up top for his finish, but Tama Tonga came out of nowhere and pushed him into the ring. Solo and Jacob Fatu also came out, and McIntyre and the Bloodline had a stare down. So Solo hit a Samoan spike, set up for another, but Zayn broke it up, and Tonga tackled Zayn and put the boots to him, and Jacob Fatu hit a hip attack on Zayn. Fatu followed up with a moonsault on him, and Solo hit Zayn with a Samoan spike, and they all stood over Zayn and pointed to the air to close the show. So, no Christmas miracle for Sami Zayn as he gets beat down, and beat down badly beat down very badly, and the Bloodline stands tall, at least the solo version of the Bloodline. And it needs to be pointed out, why the hell are they on Raw? Why are they on Raw? They don't belong here. Just like Drew doesn't belong on SmackDown. No one cares anymore. There's no integrity when it comes to this draft. But then they want to tell us there's this transfer period. See, that's the thing. I know I go on a tirade about it once per show, but I just keep being told that there's this transfer period and that people don't belong on each other's shows, but the announcers don't talk about it. So there's a draft, but there's not a draft, that, at least from the perspective of enforcing one that you told us you were going to. And then they're having a transfer period, but if you don't have an actual structure that you're adhering to with this draft, you can't have a transfer period because you're essentially in a transfer period because you don't have a split roster. You see all these contradictions? It's infuriating, at least for me. Many of you don't give a damn. You're just thinking to yourself, oh, dude, shut up. Who cares? You get to see the Bloodline on Raw. Isn't that cool? You get to see Drew on SmackDown. Isn't that cool? You get to see Kevin Owens on both shows occasionally. Isn't that cool? You get to. It's like, fine. If you're just going by what's cool and foregoing logic, then fine. You know, that's not where I land. I land on follow your own damn rules. But I think I earned myself another rating on Apple Podcasts that's so negative. He hates wrestling. He hates wrestling. No, I think my request is a fairly simple one. It's one that's fairly reasonable. You make up these rules. You should be able to stick to the rules you just made up. And then when you break them, you're telling the fans to not notice. Or if they do, it's a who cares. It's just, I don't like this. And I was hoping with the Triple H regime, things would change. They haven't, at least in this regard. Okay, I'm not tearing down Triple H's regime as a whole, just in this particular case, this particular area. It has not improved since Vince McMahon left. Because the thing is, we have to deal with the brand split every week. Because there are certain programs going on each brand that now are crossing over. That shouldn't be, but they are. And you're telling us there's a brand split, but then there's a transfer period that we don't know the end of the day, the timeline for. It's a wild mess. Anyway, I will stop there. Again, not a crazy critical Raw. If you miss this Raw, it's not going to kill you. It's not going to be the end of the world. It was a Raw that just kind of slowly moved things forward. With Drew McIntyre being the shining light as he continues to be on Monday Night Raw. We had Women's Intercontinental title match. Io Sky continuing to move forward in her title tournament. She, I think right now, is the odds-on favorite to win. We'll see how that plays out. And we're all, including WWE, looking towards, and yes, we're overlooking the 12:30 Raw, the New Year's Eve Raw. A lot of us are just, including myself, just going, oh, just get it to January 6th, right? John Cena's back. We have 3 huge matches, that do belong on a PLE, but we're getting them here on Raw, and big implications. I'm looking at January 6th version of Raw as a actual start of the road to WrestleMania. Yes, there's a Saturday night main event thrown in there. I don't really care in terms of where we land on the calendar here. I'm thinking this is still the road to WrestleMania starts January 6th. You can start February 1st all you want. That's how it'll be marketed, but January 6th is, to me, the start of the road to WrestleMania. The second they even just turn the calendar to January, like we're in the road to WrestleMania now. So wrestling is about to ramp up as kind of inconsequential as this Raw was, kind of a not feel good ending with the heels going over big time. Things are going to ramp up huge in just a week and a half here. Well, 2 weeks. Once we get to January 6th, of course. So If you guys enjoyed this, it was a little bit more abbreviated than normal, but it is Christmas Eve. I have to get some sleep because my kids will be up probably in a couple hours. I hope everybody enjoys their Christmas. You can go ad-free for this show if you want to join us and just sit back and relax while your kids open up their presents and listen to us ad-free at patreon.com/WWE podcast. You can also use Apple and use the Apple free, or rather the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts to go ad-free. If you want to join us there, it's directly in the podcast app. So do that. I will be back on Friday, I hope, with your mailbag. Friday, I'm traveling back here, so it'll be a wonky day. I don't know how it's going to work, but continue to send your emails in if you have time. Of course, during the holidays, it's crazy. And we'll do some kind of quasi-mailbag show for however many messages or emails or voicemails we get. And if we don't get any, we don't get any. That's fine too. But it's open if you guys want to. And hope everyone does. And we get rolling back into wrestling in a big way past the holidays here. So thank you again, guys, so much. And we'll be back in a few days. Merry Christmas, and we'll talk next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.